Think about it. Savior of the whole world.
Hey everybody, glad to be back with you. Hope everybody is muy bueno. Hope you're doing well. God has really impressed upon me to talk about breakthrough over the next couple messages, over the next couple of videos that we share with you. Because we cannot experience the goodness and the favor of God unless we actually break through our own junk, our own circumstances, and break through the very strongholds that hold us down and hold us back. So let's talk about it over the next couple sessions. What do you say? Let me say this from the outset right here, and this is not in my notes, but I feel impressed to tell you this, and the fact that you cannot allow excuses to creep up at every corner. If you are actually going to allow yourself to break through anything, you have to drop every excuse there is that would prevent you from breaking through. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I want to say this as serious as possible, because we put up too many excuses, and we put up too many things within our own lives that says, well, we can't, why we won't, why we shouldn't, when all the while the Lord is screaming at us to say, if you will just break through this, I have a blessing waiting on you on the other side. But yet, we don't have the time, we don't have the energy, I don't feel well, I'm sick, my head hurts, I've stubbed my toe. Whatever the case may be, my kids don't love me, my kids won't come to church. You have got to stop that stuff, because there's not a thing, there's not a situation, there's not a circumstance that God has created that would keep you from Him. So think about that for just a moment. There is nothing in this world, there is nothing that we could see and face that could truly keep us away from Him. And so whatever excuse you're throwing up, you have got to stop it. You have got to drop it in order to break through your strongholds. There is a major difference between the mind of the world, the fallen mind, and the mind of Christ, the renewed mind. Let's use this example. Let's look at Adam and Eve. Remember Adam and Eve from Sunday school? Well, even if you didn't, just open to the front page of your Genesis and you'll start reading about them. But in the Garden of Eden, it was created for them. They did not know separation from God. They did not know anxiety. They did not know confusion. They didn't know any of these things. But when they had fallen into sin, when they had fallen away from the will of God, then they began experiencing dissatisfaction. They began experiencing alienation, and they began to experience separation from God. And then they had to deal with things such as anger with their children. They had to deal with things such as murder within their families. And so the renewed mind is a mind that is in line with Christ. And the old mind is the mind that we have to constantly drag behind us and fight against. We could call it the carnal mind. And let me just give you a couple differences right here. The carnal mind, or the worldly mind, is a mind of fear. It's a mind of anxiety. It's a mind of confusion, apprehension, depression. It's a mindset of loneliness, emptiness, and bitterness. But the renewed mind that we have to constantly fight to get and to keep is a mind of faith. It's a mind of patience. It's a mind of boldness in Christ. It's a mind of power. It's a mind of being positive. And so there is a great contrast between the old mind, the carnal mind, and the renewed mind, which is a mind of Christ. And that carnal mind, that carnal man, is what we have to constantly fight against and constantly put to rest. I will be the first to tell you, maybe you've heard this before, but I want to tell you that this is a fight, a battle you're going to have to fight every single day of your life. Maybe you didn't want to hear that. But even if you consider yourself a Christian, even if you consider yourself sold out for God, if you consider yourself a diehard, this is something you're still going to have to battle every day. Don't tell me that you haven't faced depression even after selling out to God. Don't tell me you haven't felt loneliness even after you have committed yourself to a life of Christ. Don't tell me that there haven't been addictions that have not tried to creep up, even though you have made major steps to get rid of that junk. You will fight this fight every day of your life. But here's the difference. When you're living for God, you have the power to help overcome those things. When you are sold out to God, you have the power now that you did not have before that helps you to overcome those things. And so even though you have this fight, you have this battle that will wage every single day, you have the ability to do it through the power of God. Have a deep understanding that I am not against emotion. In fact, I believe that God moves through emotion. But notice the title of what we're talking about today is giving those emotions to God. When we have a renewed mind, we're more apt to love. We're more apt to forgive. We're less apt to experience depression and more easy to overcome those things. And so don't misunderstand me. I'm not against emotion. In fact, many times in our church services, there'll be people weeping. There will be people that will be crying. There will be people who will be in a deep emotional state. And God's moving on them. But that's because they're giving their emotions over to God. And so if you're experiencing a great deal of depression, if you're experiencing a great deal of all sorts of carnal emotions, you've got to work hard to give those things over to God, to release those things over to God. I believe that those opening scriptures speak very well to what we're speaking about today, in the fact that when we have a renewed mind, we're then able to experience more of the good and acceptable, here's what I like, the perfect will of God. So how long can we stay in that renewed mind? How long can we keep our mind in a renewed state? Because it's that carnal man that will fight against that so that we can't experience the good and acceptable and the perfect will of God. And so I like what Timothy said, and the fact that God has not given the spirit of fear. He doesn't give that. But He does give power, and He does give love, and He gives you a sound mind. That's what my God gives. Falling short. That's what will happen many times when we are led by our emotions as opposed to being led by God and His Spirit. We will fall way short of that breakthrough. It's almost like you get to the wall, you get to the point which you can break right through, and you fall short, you stop. The battle quits because that emotion has led you another direction. That emotion has now caused you to quit the fight. Whereas if we were led by Christ and we were led by His Spirit, we would push right on through and follow through where His Spirit is guiding us. We wouldn't stop short. But see, our emotions, when they are in lead, when they're in charge, they will toss us to and fro. They will lead us every single direction. But when God has a check on those things, God will use those to help carry us through that breakthrough moment and that breakthrough period.